It's nearing the end of 2025 and most people are still at the same exact spot that they started at the beginning of this year. I'm sure you could ask almost anyone you know and they would tell you, if they're being completely honest with you at that. It's not because of what you normally assume either, not because they're not trying, or not because they're dumb or lazy. The world simply stopped rewarding effort. I've seen this up close in my own personal life as well. I built a YouTube channel to 300,000 plus subscribers, and even that wasn't enough to move forward financially until I understood this shift. So if you've been working, pushing hard, waking up early, or trying to get ahead, and you still feel stuck, that's not a personal failure. That's a broken model, a model we've all heard about, by the way. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why this happens now, and later in this video, I'm going to show you the simplest move you can make this week to actually start shifting away from this dead-end model, so you can actually start to see your life begin to compound instead of restarting it every morning. And by the way, this isn't about giving up on work, and it certainly is not about no shortcuts. We don't do fantasy money or lottery thinking around here. Simply put, this is about finally understanding the difference between effort-based income and mechanism-based income. Because there's only two ways to earn now. You either get paid when you show up in person, or you get paid because something you built keeps working even when you're not doing anything. The old system rewarded the first one, the new world rewards the second one. That's the difference between I'm trapped in my year and my year builds on itself. The modern world pays for repeated output, not repeated presence. And it's not fair, it's not even logical on the surface, but once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Working hard is not the problem. Working in a broken model that resets every morning is the problem. That's why most people's reality ends up at the same spot by the end of the year. Now let's talk about why this is happening now, because this is where most people get stuck emotionally. I know so many people that take it too personally. They start to think something is wrong with them. Most of the time they're thinking, I must not be pushing hard enough, but this isn't emotional, this is economic. You need to know that almost everything around you compounds now, except your income. Rent in major cities compounded a lot faster than wages over the last decade. Groceries climbed, and healthy food climbed even faster. Gas, car insurance, streaming services, you name it, have all climbed. So not only are you fighting inflation, you're fighting consumer subscription stacking, the soft little monthly cuts that pile up. Even the cost of being mentally present to handle this world rose because now you need tools, apps, memberships, storage, cloud accounts, all of this bull just to exist in the modern digital world. Meanwhile, everyone knows income has stayed linear. You work an hour, you get paid for that hour. You work 40 hours, you get paid for those 40 hours. But nothing you do today repeats itself by tomorrow. And that's why even good paying jobs don't create forward motion. It's not just the low paying ones either. If your effort doesn't leave behind a copy of itself that continues to provide something in the future, you're basically rebuilding your life every week from scratch. This is why people wake up tired. This is why entire years slide by without feeling like anything meaningful has changed. You aren't building anything that accumulates, you're maintaining, you're surviving. And that's not your fault. The economy is structured now to reward assets, systems, and automation, not individual hours. It rewards output that repeats, not output that expires. Think about the emotional effect of this too. There's a quiet kind of demoralization that comes from doing everything right, but still feeling financially flat. It makes you kind of second guess yourself. It makes you question your value. And a lot of people internalize that as a personal failure. But this isn't moral, it's mechanical. The cost of existing compounds and the value of human hours does not. So of course you feel behind. You're competing against exponential cost curves with linear dollars. That's like trying to fill a swimming pool with a cup of water. Hard effort doesn't move the needle because the needle's friction is built into the system. I've seen this in my own life. When I built a 300,000 plus subscriber channel, on paper that sounds like success. It sounds like forward movement, but I still wasn't free. I still wasn't where I wanted to be financially. Because I learned attention alone doesn't scale you. It only amplifies what's already behind it. If you don't have systems in place, attention just pours into a bucket with no bottom. I had to learn how to build things that kept moving when I stepped away, so I had to stop tying my progress to my presence. That's when things started to shift. People don't move forward because their life is set up like a treadmill, not like a staircase. They're working, but they're not climbing. The work they do today doesn't make tomorrow easier, it just maintains today. That in itself explains why time moves so much faster as you get older. As adults, most of the time your life is pretty monotonous. The same routine, the same work, you're not building a future, you're repeating a present day by day. The only way to actually move forward now is to shift from hourly output to repeatable output. The world isn't paying for effort, it's paying for loops. The more of your output that loops without your body attached to it, the more your life moves forward. Remember it in this way. Progress now is not about how much you do, it's about how much you build that keeps doing. There's another layer here that people don't talk about. Productivity has gotten faster, but wages didn't follow that curve. In the last 40 years, worker productivity increased significantly, but the average worker wage didn't track with it. Companies benefit from tools, software, automations, AI. The worker doesn't. The output got faster. The human didn't get compensated for that speed. So when you work harder, you're actually feeding into a higher output that companies get more of, while the worker keeps getting less of the upside. That's where the internal frustration comes from. The body feels the effort, but the bank account doesn't reflect it. A lot of people confuse more projects with progress. More tasks, more duties, more responsibilities, but none of those things mean leverage. Most of that is just noise disguised as progress. You can fill your entire year with activity that looks responsible, the extra shift, the little side gig, the freelance scraps. But if none of those things create repeatable value, then all you've done is exhaust your present self while giving your future self nothing to stand on. Activity is not forward motion. If tomorrow isn't easier because of what you did today, then today was just maintenance. And here's the part that hurts the most, but is also the most freeing once you accept it. Forward motion is not a result of how busy you are, it's a result of how much your output can happen without you in the room. Once that clicks, everything changes. You no longer judge progress based on how tired you are at the end of the day. You judge progress based on how much less you have to do in the future because of something you built today. That is the new scoreboard. That is how you finally get unstuck. Most people never move forward because they never build anything that protects their future time. That's the real choke point. Time is the only currency you can't get back. You can earn more money. You can replace a ruined item. You can redo a task, but you can't refund a year. And when you operate in a life structure where every result depends on you personally showing up, your future time is already spoken for before you even get there. That's why the grind feels heavier the older you get, because your future doesn't feel like possibility anymore. It feels like debt. And the moment you create even one small system, a template, an automated reply, a repeatable process, you're buying back time your future self doesn't have yet. That is forward motion, not grinding harder, buying back future hours today. So here's one thing you can actually do this week that will make a real difference. Take a moment to identify one weekly task that you're currently doing manually, something you repeat consistently, and focus on automating just the intake step of that process. You don't need to automate the entire workflow or overhaul your whole system. Not the whole task, just the first piece. The part where information or requests come in. And again, automation is simply replacing your repetitive tasks with a process that runs on its own without you being there. Build one tiny piece, one small mechanism, and that runs and functions without requiring your direct presence or involvement. The goal here is to create something that operates independently of you. It's far better to automate one small part of your work that repeats consistently over time than to continue doing everything manually, stretching yourself thin, and eventually burning out from the consistent repetition. We are the first generation with the ability to escape this on purpose. Our parents didn't have this leverage. They didn't have low-cost tools that could automate part of their life. Think about that. They didn't have the ability to build a digital presence that worked while they slept. We do. And that advantage is real. But it only matters if you use it, because the window won't stay open forever. Just like that applies for anything else. Technology in itself moves fast, but right now, the opportunity is wide open. This is the first era where normal people can scale small. You don't have to be a genius, and you don't got to be born rich. You don't need to have a huge team anymore, honestly. You just need to stop playing the game where every day resets. Most people don't move forward because they're playing in a system that only rewards presence. They're in a model where nothing compounds. But once you create one little mechanism, one tiny repeating output, you've broken the loop. And that's all progress really is nowadays. It's not giant leaps, it's micro systems that move the needle when you're not touching them. If nothing else, before you go to bed tonight, I want you to take a moment and choose one specific weekly task that you're currently handling manually, something that repeats on a consistent basis, and focus specifically on automating just the intake part of that particular process. You don't need to overhaul the entire system or rebuild everything from scratch. Just focus on that first entry point, that initial step where information or requests come in. Because here's the truth, one small, deliberate automation that runs consistently and reliably over time is infinitely better and more valuable than infinite manual effort that drains your energy, takes up your time, and resets every single morning when you wake up. I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and drop a comment down below sharing which specific task you decided to automate or streamline first. And if you're interested in following along with this entire transformation as it unfolds, watching how these small systems and mechanisms build on top of each other, step by step, piece by piece, creating real compounding progress over time, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out any part of this journey. I'm documenting everything here on this channel, all the wins and failures, my entire journey with this. And of course, if you're still watching up to this point, I want to thank you for that. I appreciate you honestly, and I'll see you in the next one.